Hello guys, welcome to another YouTube video. My name is Canon, and in this video I'm going to show you how you can add to cart using PHP, AJAX and HTML. So in front of me I have a very basic HTML page. It's not functioning, it's not working right now. It has a few products from my database, but when you click this into cart, it's not responsive or anything. It's just Adam HTML. I'll leave the link to this HTML in the description. And here we have the cart icon and the counter here, but currently it's not working. But what I'm going to show you is how we can make this work and change this cart to uh, whatever quantity we add to the cart. So without much saying, let's skip direct to the code. So here I just have a basic index.php page. It just has a HTML code, then it has just a query to the database to get just 4 products. I believe by now, if you are creating something like this, you already know how to add to cart. And I've given it a dynamic static image, product title, and the product price. This is just a number format to put a comma in between the zeros and stuff. So this is just fetching those products. And here we have the navigation. It's quite simple. The navigation here, there's that 3. We will make this dynamic. For now, let's keep it that way. And then I've included the JQuery CDN. You must do that before you start. You include the JQuery CDN and maybe the font or some CDN. So with that said, think side time we skip to the code. So after fetching your data from the database, the next thing that you need to do is make this button work. So the first thing that I'll do, I'll give it an ID, and I'll say my ID is equals to, let's say, add to cart, and then I'll give it a value, a data ID value. You can use any data value or data ID, any kind of. So the data ID, I'll give it the product ID, and that, and I say product underscore ID. So after doing that, we have to give it a functionality. When you click this add to cart button, what should it do? So to do that, we'll create a jQuery script or a JavaScript. It's the same. So let's say script text, and then I'll say $sign. Done. No, it's happening. Just some. So instead of using the script here, I'll just create a new path to a script file, and I'll call it just add cart maybe .js, and then let's create this file. Say control and save as add cart.js, and then here now we'll do the coding part of the JS. So first thing that we need to do is say assign document dot on click. We want to do something when that button is clicked. On click this button, add to cart. We pick the ID represented by hashtag, then we give it a function, I give it an event. I'll say e.prevent default. This prevents the button from refreshing the page whenever anything is done, whenever it's clicked. So the next thing that we need is to grab this data ID, the one we created here, the value of the product that we want to add. So to do that, I'll say I'll use a shortcut. I'll say JQ attribute get, something like this, and I'll say give it a variable name, and I'll say variable product ID will be equals to $sign. I'll just say this because we are in this function of add to cart, and I'll say attribute name is data ID. That will give us the product ID, and to check whether it's working, I can just alert the product ID and see whether it's working or not. So I'll just save this, use this one, refresh page. Let's see whether it's working. And as you can see, the product is 4, and you come down here below H3. So our code is working so far. So the next thing that we need to do is send a post to send that data to an add to cart.php. Let me show you what I mean, and I'll explain later. So I'll say fetch, and I'll give it the URL where I want to post that data, where I want the add to cart process to happen. So the jQuery here is just helping us to send the product ID data and make a request to another page. So to do that, we'll create a new file here, and we'll call it addcart.php. This is where we'll process all the logic in using PHP, and then we return a response to the user's page. So first thing you need to do is give it the URL, which is that path to our new page, which is addcart.php, and I'll say comma, and then here we perform some actions. So the first thing is the method, and the method is post method. So the next thing is the headers to allow us to send the prevent errors and stuff. So the headers, I'll say it's content type, application JSON, and then I'll say chasset UTF-8, sorry, UTF-8, and then at the end don't use a comma. We go here, put a comma, and then another, say body. Don't worry, I'll also leave the source code in the description, and please don't forget to subscribe as we continue. And say I say JSON.stringify, just that product ID, since we don't have many what do we call them, we don't have many values. We just say stringify, just that these object. If we had many, we would use it as an array here, but for now we just use it this way. So the next thing here we need to create is give it a 10. After sending this post request, we want to after we send these, we need to get the response from this page. So the next thing we need to do is say then function response return we say return sorry for the pause response dot text. We want to convert the response into a text. So I don't know why it's displaying, and then let's see what might be the problem. Yep, this one. So, and then we need to give the user the a response to. After we convert that response to a text, we need to display it to the user side. So we can say function data, and then we can say maybe alert the user that the maybe added to cart successfully, and then we want to update this count to change the number. So I'll give our count an ID or a class. Cut count, let's give it let's use just the class here, and then remove these three, leave it blank, save it, and then here I'll say to represent the class is dot, and then I'll say text, sorry, dot text data. That's the response. So anytime we update the cart, it will alert the user that the product has been added to cart successfully, and then it will update this counter and make the text be equals to that data that will receive from the add to cart.php. So that's all for the add to cart.js, and then now let's work on the add to cart.php. So on the add to cart.php, we'll do some things. So the first thing is just open a PHP tag, sorry, and then start a session if not started. But if you started it, don't start again. So the first thing that you need to do is get the data from the Ajax. Get this post data, this is the product ID. So to do that, you need to say $data will be equals to file. Since you are getting it from a JQuery AJAX request, I'll say PHP input like that. Then the next step that you need to do is decode that data. I'll say $product ID or $product will be equals to JSON decode, JSON underscore decode $data and make it true. And then I'll say the $product ID will be equals to JSON encode, JSON underscore encode, JSON encode product, and I can say JSON underscore numeric check to check whether it's an integer, it's a numeral, not a string, it's a number. So the next thing we need to do is perform a logic here and say if is not empty, we want to check whether it's a real request. If it's not empty, product ID, $sign product ID. The reason I'm going too fast, I don't want this video to be so long. So if it's not empty, perform this action. I'll say if is sent the same session. Here we're creating a session, a cut session, and I'll say cut. Then I'll say on is an array. Here we check if we already have a variable named cut. Here we check if a session variable named cut already exists, and if it's an array, is array $sign underscore session cut. So the next thing that we need to check after checking this, we need to check if an array key of product ID already exists. We need to check whether it was added before or not. If it was not added before, if it was added before, we just add the quantity. If it wasn't added before, we create a new array key, right? So to do that, say if array underscore key underscore exists, this product ID underscore ID, whether it exists on this cut, do something else. So if it already exists, I'll say $sign underscore session if it already exists, that's in session count on the key product ID because not 2 equals to this, it will be equals to plus equals 1. It will increment by 1 if it already exists, but if it doesn't exist, which is our next thing, which is an else statement, we'll say this. I'll just copy this and I'll just I say copy this, paste it here, and then I'll say it will just be equals to 1 because it has not been added before. So the next thing that we need to do, we need to check if this variable cut does not exist. What do we do if it doesn't exist? So to do that, we'll say else $sign underscore session cut. Say $sign underscore session. I don't know why my autocomplete feature is not working. Cut will be equals to array $sign product ID product underscore ID it'll be 1, and then I'll terminate. And then the final thing that we need to do is count the number of items in the cart. So I'll say this is what we want to return to the user, and we say the number of items. I say number of items in cart will be equals to isSet. This is how you count the number of items in the cart. I'll say it's equals to $_session session cart. Let's say count assign underscore session cart. I'm receiving an error here because I did it wrongly. So should be like that. So assign session cut here 0. So I can explain what this line means if you don't understand. In simple terms, it means it calculates the number of items in the session cut and checks if the session variable exists and is an array. So if the cat does not exist, this is what this means here. If else if it does not exist, this session, it sets the value of the cat to 0. So this is what it does. This is what this 0 means. In programming, this means it's like an else statement. Instead of just saying if isSet session cat set this, else set this. No, you can say if it's the same as using if isSet this one, perform an action, and then this will be the action, and then an else statement set this thing to 0. It's just the same thing. I just used a shortcut to make it simple. So the next thing you need to do is echo or return these num items to the user. Of items, just I don't know why I'm typing. I can just paste it here. You see. So that's all for that. Let's test whether our code is working. So here we said it will be added to cart successfully, and it will return here. So let's test this one. Refresh our page, see whether it's working. Currently our car counter is 0. Maybe we can do something about it. We can say let it look like 0. If it's not empty, then replace that data later. So currently it's at 0. So let's try to add a product into the cart. Click added to cart successfully, and as you can see, it has been added to 1. If you add another one onto cart, added successfully, and you can see it's 2. So that's all, guys, for adding to cart in using PHP and AJAX and JQuery. And in the next video, I'll show you how to extract the data that has been added to cart using PHP, and show the add to cart page using PHP. If you like this video, don't forget to subscribe, hit a like, and I'll see you guys next time.